WTVM Storm Team 9 Weather Extra. Sponsored by John Foy and Associates.
Hello everyone, welcome into another edition of Storm Team 9 Weather Extra. Always again the show we try to take you behind the scenes, give you some of that extra info that you need to know about big topics in the weather world. And one of the big topics this week, we said goodbye to the month of April, hello to the month of May. And whenever we make that big transition in between months, I always like to take a look at some of the averages, kind of see where we stand coming out of a month and into a new one. And meteorologist Elise Hushman has more on the transition to April to May, and a look ahead in our forecast into that long range at the outlook when it comes to temperature and rain.
Well, as we kick off a new month, we're going to take a look back at the previous one and see that April saw near average temperatures, with 11 days passing the 80-degree mark and only 10 days of rain left us well below average as far as rainfall totals were concerned. Our coolest day of April was on the 8th at 57 degrees. We saw our warmest day just a few days before that on the 5th at 89 degrees. But overall, things turned out to be right around average temperatures in the upper 70s for the entire month. As far as rain was concerned, though, we saw about an inch less than we usually do in the month of April. And you see that our rainfall days were few and far between. Typically, we see that in May, being our second driest month of the year. We expect around 3 inches of rain in May typically, and we expect temperatures to start off in the low 80s. Now, this month started off a little bit cooler than average, but by the end of the month, we expect to see temperatures closer to the 90-degree mark in the upper 80s. And a few triple-digit days are not out of the question either. So this is what it looks like for us. Looking ahead at the next week or two, we will see a little bit more rain than is usual for the month of May. So we could see rainfall totals at about an inch or two to start off the month. Temperatures are also going to be a little bit above average for this time of year. So we will see temperatures in the mid and upper 80s for the start of May in the next few weeks.
Elise, thanks. Great stuff there as always as we prepare for some much warmer weather ahead, looking into that long-range forecast. Now look, May is still a month that it can get stormy from time to time. We had a bout with some storms the last week or so ago, and thankfully those storms didn't turn out to be quite as bad as they could. And one big reason for that, we had a bunch of storms formed down to our south along the Florida Panhandle, and that kept us from getting into some of the best ingredients to get storms going. Meteorologist Dana Barker is here now with a bit more on that, this Gulf suppression that sometimes takes place, and one thing that can be a big limiting factor when it comes to severe weather.
The Gulf of Mexico. It's a playground for a lot of us. The source of vacations during the spring and the summer, just 3 hours south of our viewing area. With winds out of the south during the summer months around the big Bermuda High that's stationed over the western Atlantic Ocean, moisture is pumped in from the Gulf over our area, creating hot, humid, and sultry summers. But it is a source of moisture and a source of energy, and also a source of severe weather during the spring and fall months over our local area. One of those severe weather events happened 9 years ago as an EF3 tornado touched down in parts of Russell and Lee counties, doing considerable damage to the towns of Crawford and also Salem during the pre-dawn hours of April 29th. The tornado was forecast to be part one of a two-pronged severe weather outbreak over the span of 2 days. The Storm Prediction Center later that day issued a moderate risk for parts of western Alabama. This was before the SPC added marginal and enhanced to have a 5-level risk. Back then in 2014, it was only a 3-level risk. A slight risk existed for most of our viewing area, including a 10% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of a point and a 30% chance of seeing damaging winds over 60 miles an hour. But little did we know that day the Gulf would have other ideas. An MCS, or Mesoscale Convective System, basically a weather nerd term for a large area of showers and thunderstorms, started to build over the Florida Panhandle and deep south Alabama. It moved on towards the east, but didn't move much toward the north, blocking all of the moisture from advecting in from the Gulf. So basically, on the night of April 29, 2014, you could call that MCS the Bandit.
I forgot to tell you, I'm running block here for 400 cases of illegal cruise.
The saving grace from our local area seeing a second straight day of severe weather proved to be disastrous for the northern Gulf Coast with historic and record flash flooding. Pensacola saw its one-day daily rainfall record of 15.55 inches, with 5.68 inches is falling in 1 hour during the peak of the event. Mobile's at their third highest daily rainfall amount, seeing 11.24 inches of rainfall. So while the Gulf is our playground during the warmer months of the year, it can be a curse or a blessing during severe weather events. From the Storm Team 9 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Dana Barker.
Dana, thanks so much. Great stuff there. We always hope to see that when we have these big severe weather events. Sometimes it can bust the forecast if we are expecting severe storms, but it's certainly nice to get that to where we just don't have things be as much of a problem as they could be. Next up on the show, we've got meteorologist Tyler Allender. He's here to talk a little bit about what you can see in the night and the morning sky this week, any passes of the International Space Station, and of course, a look at our picture of the week.
We are checking out the night sky this week, and one of the main shows will be Venus. Mars also still showing off in the western sky, but you really cannot miss Venus as it's situated in between the stars on the tips of the bull's horns. The bull being Taurus, and we will continue to see that looking west after dark for the rest of the week as Venus continues to get higher and higher in the night sky. Later this week, we'll have the full moon, technically full Friday, but it will appear full Thursday and Friday night. It's called the flower moon in May, naturally because of all the flowers that tend to show up. You know, April showers bring May flowers, right? And it's also known as the planting moon or the hare moon. The moon will rise Friday night at 8:40 Eastern Time. It will set 7:15 in the morning Eastern Time on Saturday. We will have some clouds around toward the end of the week, though, so hopefully you can still catch a nice view of the moon. Picture of the week comes from Gail Alexander with those partly cloudy skies, cirrus clouds in the morning sky recently, and we appreciate any photos of nature, space weather, or just beautiful sky pictures in general. You can submit your photos on the WTVN weather app by going to the Chime In section.
Tyler, thanks so much. Great stuff there. It is just about time to wrap it up, but before we go, we would like to say that we are very excited here on the show. Myself, Tyler Allender, nominated for a Southeast Regional Emmy Award for some severe weather coverage that we did this past year. As always, such an honor to be nominated. We'll find out whether we take home the big hardware in June when they have the awards up in Atlanta, and it's just such a great thing to work with such a wonderful and talented team around here, and you can bet that next year, I hope that we'll be up for some more awards with the talent that we have here at Storm Team 9. So that does it on the show today. In the coming weeks, we're going to tell you a bit more about a new radar, a new tool that we're going to have access to here at WTVN that can change the ball game when it comes to severe weather coverage. We'll be talking a lot more about the impending arrival of hurricane season and some new hurricane products the National Hurricane Center is testing out. So look for that here in the coming weeks. But for now, for all of us here at Storm Team 9, I'm Chief Meteorologist Derek Kincaid saying so long, and we'll see you next week.
WTVN Storm Team 9 Weather Extra. Sponsored by John Foy and Associates.